Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Josie. Today I'm going to talk about the 4 stages of grief in children. And by the way, this is not a channel that you should allow your children to watch. And my disclaimer is I am not a substitute for professional therapy. Also, today, after I discuss the 4 stages of grief in children, I want to talk a little about divorce. Now, I'm going to be pretty blunt with this. And remember, this is just my opinion, how I feel. But if you really think about it and you really look around at how some of our children are damaged because of our divorces, you will understand what I'm trying to say to you. Anyway, let's get started on the 4 stages of grief. The first one is shock and numbness, yearning and searching, disorientation and disorganization, reorganization and resolution. Now, whether your child is grieving over a loss of a grandparent, a divorce, immediate family member, we actually need to let them talk. Be patient, listen, give your child space to think through their loss, making yourself available when your child is ready to talk. I feel like in my situation, I failed in that area. I think I was around 30 years old when my daughter passed away, and my older son. She was the oldest, but I have a younger son also, so he was my older son. Excuse me. And I really at that time did not, I guess I was grieving so much. I never thought that he was going through as much as I was, and that was wrong. So be open to listen, and like I said before in my other videos, at that time too, there wasn't as much available. We didn't have internet. We did not have the therapy that is available now. So be open, put your own grieving aside if possible, and listen to your children, because they're going through as much as you are. And maybe sometimes more, because they don't understand, and depending on the age that they are. During the yearning and the searching stage, your child may appear restless, angry, bewildered, or expressing feelings of guilt over loss. Sometimes small children that they don't understand, they feel guilty because they feel like it's something that they did. You know, they don't understand that with illnesses or even tragic accidents, you know, unless they're involved in that accident, then I can understand a little bit. But it's horrible when children grow up feeling guilty about the loss of a sibling or another family member. Let's see. Allow your child to express his or her feelings. Yes, let them talk. Don't shush them, you know, because you don't want to hear, you're grieving and you don't want to hear, you know, all the negativity in someone else, but let them express their feeling. And realize that your child's feelings may change drastically from day to day. Always remain calm if possible. During the stage of disorientation and disorganization, your child may experience extreme sadness and depression over the loss. And he or she may continue to feel guilty or show a lot of anger. So make sure your child gets adequate nutrition and rest. Continue to be available to your child, and provide opportunity to spend time outside together. You know, exercise, fresh air always helps instead of being secluded in your house. And reorganization and resolution. Realize that your child may fluctuate to previous stages. And even in the 5 grieving stages, basically for adults, I think they're pretty similar. We fluctuate. We may go back and forth and go through the 5 stages 10 times. Who knows? But remain alert to any changes in your child's behavior and mental state. Be aware. Like I've said before, I am sure when I lost my daughter, my son, it damaged him, you know. He went to bed that night, and she went to bed. She was alive, and when he woke up in the morning, he found out his sister was dead. So that was a horrible, horrible thing that he went through. And always encourage your child to share his or her feelings as needed. And you know, putting aside family members or siblings, even when your child loses an animal, a pet that they love dearly, they go through the same thing. You know, our pets become family members, and animals are comforting. In fact, the latter part of my medical career, I worked in a nursing home, and people would bring in animals. The people that lived there, it was comforting to them. In fact, one place we had a cat living there, and you can't believe the joy that these animals bring to elderly people. So when a child loses an animal, it's the same as losing a sibling to them. They go through a lot. So be open to listen. And now I'm going to get on the divorce thing. And I'm sure I'm going to offend some people. Sorry, but I am going to state how I feel. I went through a divorce 6 months after I lost my daughter. And excuse my allergies today because they're terrible. I would say, because I was in such a grieving stage, that I made a poor decision. I mean, why I'm bringing this up, I think us humans, us adults, are very selfish in our ways. All we think about is how we feel. Now, I have come to the conclusion after all these years, and like I said, in my personal life, in what I've seen medically, what I've researched, and this is where I'm going to make someone mad. The only reason I think that you should ever have a divorce if you've been physically abused, you've been beaten, you've been hit, you've been threatened, that's the only reason that you should ever get a divorce. And like I said, I'm sure I'm going to make someone mad. And I'm putting myself on the line too. I'm not just saying this because I think I made the wrong decision. And the reason why, when we get married and we have kids, our life is not the only thing that's important anymore. It's our children. And we as adults, I think, are selfish. We only think about ourselves. We do not think about the damage it does to our children. And these children go through these grieving stages that I'm talking about. losing, all of a sudden their whole life is uprooted. Their dad's living in a different home. Visitation back and forth. Their life becomes very confused. And I know with myself, I let my grief take over. It took away my common sense. It took away any logic. All I could think of, I was angry. I was angry at my ex because he didn't understand what I was going through. And I did not think of my other two children. One of my biggest regrets in my life. I'm very blessed to the fact that, especially my younger son is very close to his dad. I never talked against my ex. And in that area, I am very blessed, and I made the right decision not to ever downcast him or say anything negative about him. But I really feel strongly about this. I don't care if you don't think you're madly in love with your spouse. There was something to begin with that you married them. Think about your children. Think about what they go through. And maybe work on bringing that spark back. There had to be something in the beginning. And if you have grown to fall out of love, wait till your children are grown before you disrupt your life and your children's life. So, anyway, I will end this. I'm sure, like I said, I've made someone mad. I'm sorry, but I don't care. This is from my heart, and I would hate to see you live with regrets. I know we all have regrets. Like I said, the one thing, I don't think it damaged my younger son because he was too little to understand, but it did damage my older son. And that's where I have a really hurt spot in my heart. So I'm airing all of this because if I can help one person, like I've always said, it's worth putting my life out there. I've come to accept all of my mistakes and all of my bad choices because I've given my life to Jesus 5 years ago, and I know He has forgiven me, so I've learned to forgive myself. But if you're thinking about divorce because you're angry or you think you're not madly in love with your spouse, think again. Think about your children. A little different if you don't have any children, but when you have children, think about them. Because like I said, we are all of us, selfish humans. And sometimes we think of our own life and we want to make our own choices, but remember, there's always consequences to your choices. So anyway, I will end this. I hope it helps you in some way. And just remember, when your children are grieving, it's hard growing up. It's hard being a child. It's not all fun and games. It's a very confusing world, especially nowadays. So think about them and rethink. If you need to go out and get therapy, marriage counseling, do it. Think about those little ones. And I think you'll change your mind maybe on, like I said, if you're beat, if you've been hit, get out of the situation. That is horrible. No human being should be ever hit. by a spouse, by a boyfriend, a girlfriend. And you know, women abuse men just as much as men abuse women. It's just you don't hear as many men talking about it. So I will get off the subject. I will try to be my next video a little more positive, but I just felt that this was a real need to express how I feel, and I thought it would be good with the 4 stages of grief in children, because children go through as much or maybe more than we do. So anyway, God bless you. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.